My personal A. In 1996, I was living in DC, working at Anderson Consulting, now called Accenture, staffed on an out-of-town assignment, living with my brother on the weekends, so I was making good money and saving good money, and I was applying for grad school. That Thanksgiving, I came back home to South Carolina to visit, and I did all of the usual things. I ate great food, I visited my aunties and my uncles, and I talked to my younger relatives. And you know how it is when you're an adult and you're talking to young people. You ask, how are you doing in school? What are your grades like? Well, I was met with a chorus of D's and F's. I said to them, those are horrible grades. One of my cousins pipes up and says, well, Paulette, I did make a C. And I immediately responded, a C is not a good grade. And they immediately burst out laughing. I was heartbroken. Here I was juxtaposed with them on this upward trajectory to better, and them seemingly on a downward path. Well, that night I had a crisis of conscience, and I made the decision to move back home to South Carolina so that I could do something about it. I went back to DC, tore up my application to grad school, called my closest friends, let them know. And my girlfriend, Bonita, was like, no, whatever you do, don't do it. My friend from work, Juan, was like, you sure you don't want to ride this telecom wave, see where it goes, make some money from that, and then move back? My friend Wayne was like, why don't you wait until you get some professional success in your career and move back at that time? And my response was, if I make the most money that I can make off of this telecom wave, if I become the best attorney that there is, and in that same time span, my home community has died, would I have been a success? So it was clear to me what I was to do. I was to move back home instead of going to grad school a year later. Well, you know what happened. A year later came around and I didn't move back home. I got cold feet. But within a few months, I shored myself back up, got my confidence and courage back together, and moved home in January of 1998. And I was going with a plan to consult for 2 years. I was going to interview the stakeholders of the community, people in politics, in education, and in the neighborhoods, do an assessment, write up a report, leave it, and get back to my life. Well, I started substituting at the urging of one of those persons that I interviewed in education, and I fell in love with teaching. And also, I fell in love with somebody that I had started dating. In October of 1998, that year I moved home, that person that I fell in love with was murdered. Talk about a challenge. Talk about traumatic. We were 27 years old. All I wanted to do at that point was fulfill whatever mission that I had been sent home to accomplish, and then die and rejoin him. Well, I didn't die. I kept teaching. I tutored. I coached. And I expanded my passion of teaching. And that seeming detour of coming back home, moving back home to South Carolina, ended up being the best setup possible for my future success as a trainer. There is no tougher audience, no more honest critic than a group of middle school students. I learned to be engaging. I learned to be persuasive. I honed all of the skills that would make me successful as a trainer, unbeknownst to me at the time. So from challenge to success.